Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Riverfront. This is episode number 469 of the world's most dangerous podcast, where we discuss the Cincinnati Reds and occasionally Eddie Taubensee. I'm your host, Chad Dotson. With me this week, your friend and mine, Nate Dotson. How are you, Nate?
Chad, I am fantastic. I'm feeling good. I slept well last night. I took a shower, so I'm smelling good too. I'm just excited to talk a little baseball.
Yes, absolutely. Hope springs eternal, especially this time of year. And we're going to talk some baseball before we do. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button. And if you're listening elsewhere, you know what to do. Follow us. Nate, before we get started really with the news of the week and the things we want to talk about here, there was a suggestion in our Slack channel. Of course, if you're a member of the family at patreon.com/riverfrontcincy, you have access to our Slack channel. And our buddy Carlos Guevara, who was on the show last week, had a suggestion that for his first practice of his 6-year-old son's baseball practice, that they were just going to play wiffle ball the whole time. And we had a great conversation about wiffle ball and just brought back some fantastic memories and makes me want to go play wiffle ball right now. Are you in for that?
I could not be more in. I was walking around our neighborhood a few days ago, and I found it's like a little tiny park that is in the perfect diamond shape, tree lined at the end of the property. It was made for wiffle ball. I think we got to make it happen.
Let's do it. A couple weeks ago, I was walking around the grocery store, and they had the wiffle balls, the long yellow wiffle bats, and the wiffle balls. And I was like, oh, I started to buy one, even though there's no reason for me to have one at this point, just for the nostalgia's sake.
I could wax poetic about wiffle ball all day long. I mean, we evolved as we started out a wiffle ball family. Us and our cousins, and every family reunion, family get together. We're out there playing until one of the cousins got in a fight with another one, and we had to call it quits.
Always.
And then we kept it going until our late teens, and we'd go out to the local college's tennis courts at night under the lights. We got PVC pipe and netting and made a whole K zone. Like, we got pretty sophisticated with it, and I don't know, man. Number one reason, among the top reasons why I'm excited to have kids sometime soon, is to pass on my wiffle ball knowledge.
Yeah, good times, good times. So we'll probably talk about some baseball now, but I really wanted to, I thought about this earlier. Thought, well, maybe we should spend an hour with our wiffle ball memories, because so many of you, I'm sure, have wiffle ball memories. We won't do that. We'll get into the news of the week. And the first thing I want to mention before we get too deep into things is we had some exciting news this week at the Riverfront, and you probably saw it if you're following the show, if you're a friend of the show. Last year I appeared on the show. We talked a lot how much we enjoyed the Late Night Reds Talk show, and it was a live show. We did a couple of live shows, but for various reasons, we prefer this format for our show. But that Late Night Reds Talk was always a good time, and there's something different about just being able to interact. Well, it kind of went away for whatever reason, and two of the three hosts of that show decided, hey, we'll get this thing going. And so all of a sudden we thought, well, let's talk. And boom, now we have a second Cincinnati Reds focus show here at the Riverfront Network. It's going to be Sunday nights. Going to go live here on the Riverfront YouTube channel. So riverfront.com. No, youtube.com/riverfrontcincy. And it'll also be on Facebook and on Twitter at Riverfrontcincy, at those places. And it's going to be a live show. Tim Daniel is going to be the host of the show. Carlos gave, was last week. He's on as he can. That show and this one as often as possible. Nate and I will make appearances. Other people will make appearances. We got a lot of great plans. There's a different element to the live show, and I'm really excited to see our Riverfront family kind of join that Late Night Reds Talk family, because really they had a great group of watchers, listeners, viewers, and I just think it's going to be a blast. I'm looking forward to it. I'm tempted to just not ever go on the show, just dive into the comments and just be a viewer and see if I can wreak havoc. But anyway, we wanted to mention that. You probably saw our announcement video. I'm really happy to have Tim and Carlos, and I'm excited about it. Nate, what do you think?
I am equally, if not more, excited. Those guys were one of my favorite listens when they were over there doing their own thing. So I use them as a source to get a lot of good Reds news, a lot of good content, and wrap my head around some things. So getting to add them to the fold and talk baseball with them is going to be dope. Also, the the big news in all of this is that apparently you and Mr. Tim Daniel have squashed last year's beef. So I'm all about squashing beefs on the internet. So that's a good sign.
We did have some fake beef last year, and we've fake squashed it now. No, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good, and just logistically, if you are a fan of late night Reds talk, the show will be found on the Riverfront's YouTube channel. Also, if you are subscribed to the YouTube or to the Riverfront, well, I'm Nick Kroll-esque at talking today. I'm really not in my, see, I can't even think what I'm trying to say. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Riverfront. This is episode number 469 of the world's most. No, if you're subscribed to the Riverfront, our baseball show on any audio platform, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, whatever that is. We're on Spotify. Then you're going to get 2 Red shows a week now. You're going to have this one that comes to you, as always, every Friday morning drops. And then you're going to have the live show, a recording of the live show. It will not be live in your podcast app. I'm sorry to tell you that functionality doesn't exist yet, as far as I know. Well, it probably does, actually, now that I think about it. But you will be able to watch the show on Sunday nights, 9 p.m. every single week, and it's going to be a good time. And again, so subscribe here to YouTube or audio version, and you will not miss an episode. Also on the YouTube channel, of course, you get 2 Red shows plus the Riverfront Bengals show. So three options for your Cincinnati related sports entertainment at one YouTube channel. It's amazing. All right, Nate. News of the week.
We've got
David Bell this week. Today, actually, as we record this on Thursday, announced Hunter Green would be starting on opening day for the Cincinnati Reds, and Nick Lodolo and Graham Ashcraft will pitch games 2 and 3. So, there's some talk about whether it would be Lodolo or Green. This does not surprise me at all, and it's not really that big a news, but it's official now. Hunter Green, who had a really nice looking outing today, pitched 4 innings, will be the opening day starter. Any thoughts about that, Nate?
I think it's the right choice. There are a lot of people sort of clamoring for Nick Lodolo to do it, and I certainly get that. He is deserving as well. But we've talked about it plenty here. Hunter Green he's got that ceiling. He's got that not just ace of the staff, but, top pitcher in all of baseball, talent in that arm. So go ahead, put him out in the spotlight. Let him know, hey, man, hey, young fella, the job's yours. Go take it. And it's an awesome honor. I think he's very well equipped to handle the spotlight and might not get to pitch in front of a crowd like that too many times this year. So take advantage of it. Have some fun. Congrats to Hunter.
Yeah, right. It's an honor for him. He's earned it. I was a little disappointed that they didn't give the starting spot to one of the grand marshals for this year's Findlay Market Parade, either Bronson Arroyo, I guess, but I would have given the start to Danny Graves, 2 Reds Hall of Famers this year. So no, Hunter Green, is what it is. I'm looking forward to seeing him pitch in that environment. I hope that it is. Although all the reports are they're having trouble selling out opening day. I don't know. I'm not going to be there, but if you want to go watch Hunter Green. It'll probably be worth the price of admission. Yeah. Opening day usually is in Cincinnati.
I hope this is the first of about 15 opening days that Hunter Green starts in a Reds uniform.
I hope he only starts 7.5 opening days, and those other 7.5 go to Nick Lodolo.
Okay, split it down the middle. Very democratic.
Yeah, we'll take that. All right, so there are some other news of the week, some things we want to talk about, but a way to get into it, I think, is probably about this piece that I wrote this week for my newsletter. If you don't subscribe to the newsletter, what are you even doing? Go to chaddotson.com. You can get that newsletter for free. And so the piece I wrote, the headline, and again, on Twitter, you could tell who just read the headline, who actually read the piece. But the headline was, "It's okay to get irrationally excited about Reds spring training." And let me just give the premise of the piece, and then we can kind of talk about the reaction to it briefly. I don't want to give, I'm not going to name names here, but so essentially my piece was this. If you are mad at the Reds, if you're mad at ownership for the way they've screwed up the last few years of this organization, if they're in the middle of another rebuild, if you're mad about that and not going to forgive the Castellinis, that's fine. We encourage that. Do what you want to do. But the other flip side of this was, but if you're really excited about the prospects, if you really love the prospects and you're just over the moon excited about what's happening this spring with these kids, hey, that's okay too. It's it's great. Do it, enjoy the team however you want to enjoy it, whatever. And so the whole thing was just it's okay to feel however you want to feel about these Reds. And essentially the thrust of it was it's okay if some people want to be really excited about kids that have never played above A ball. There's nothing wrong with that. Have at it. So Nate, what's your reaction to that particular thought? And then maybe we can talk about some of the funny stuff around it.
The particular thought is spot on, and it's kind of consistent with what we've been saying here for a while now. Obviously, the tone of this podcast has been what it's been for a while, and to an extent, that's not going to change that much. Like, we're going to continue to be honest and stuff, but yeah, man, it would be impossible to be a Reds fan and not be excited about some of the things that are happening on these spring training fields in Arizona. And I mean, I'm caught up in it. I love it. I've got the fever. But I also am still very, very annoyed that the Reds have not put a quality major league product on the field, except for like 4 times since I turned 6. And I am significantly older than 6 now. So the Twitter got a hold of it, and I think it started with some just good natured ribbing, and then it exploded from there. But we kind of have been pretty consistent that we want to root for the guys in the Reds uniform, guys that are wearing that Cincinnati C on their laundry. And yeah, I'm not going to go crazy for a big Daytona Tortugas, whatever, when Dayton Dragons win this year. I want the guys to succeed, but I'm not going to go nuts. Well, in spring training, they're wearing the right jerseys. They're wearing the Cincinnati C. They've got the laundry on. So
Right.
I'm rooting for the guys. They're wearing the right clothes. Yeah, it got blown into something way bigger than we obviously care about, but it was an interesting day on Red's Twitter.
Well, I'm told it was because I was going about my day, had no idea. I got a text from somebody, and then they were talking about it a little bit in our Slack chat, but nobody added me, nobody tagged me into their post. And essentially, it's let me put it this way: we have always tried to be intellectually honest with you, and even when we're biased about something. My Senzel, every time I mention Nick Senzel, I talk about my biases there. We try to be intellectually honest with you. And there's a certain element of Red's Twitter that says you can either only be 100% in love with everything around this organization, or you're a hater or something like that. I don't know what it is. And if that's the way you feel, wonderful. Feel that way. I would say that we have been pretty consistent here in that we're intellectually honest with you, but we're also as excited about some of the young kids as anybody. And we are hopeful. We want these kids to be great, because why don't we talk about this team now? We're going to be doing it twice a week here at the Riverfront. And so I don't care how you root for the team. We're going to keep being honest. I challenge you to find another outlet that talks about the Reds and writes about the Reds as much as we do, that is as honest about the franchise as we are. And we're able to be honest while also still being enthusiastic, because at our heart, we're fans. And I want Ellie De La Cruz to be 10 times better than Eric Davis. I want, a Christian Encarnacion Strand. I mean, that guy, he's looked great so far. Wonderful. I'm glad we've had 10 spring training days of some of these kids looking good, and they're talented. So, I mean, it's not like it's necessarily a fluke, but they could have 10 awful days, and the prospect huggers, as Carlos likes to call them, they'll be quiet then. And we'll still be like, okay, they're doing, it's spring training. Who cares what they've done? The spring training is completely meaningless. It's completely meaningless. But you can still watch Encarnacion Strand and watch Ellie De La Cruz legging out a triple and be like, oh man, that is awesome. I'm glad they have that wishbone C on their chest. And it's not inherently inconsistent to think, yeah, the Reds have screwed things up royally in the last 3 decades. But also, maybe there's some hope here. So anyway, I don't really know what the furor was, because nobody really, a couple of people texted me a tweet. I'm like, what? I just laughed about it because it's Twitter. Who cares? Twitter. And if some of these people that are not intellectually honest with you want to mock me for saying that I don't care how you like to cheer for the Reds, then fine, whatever. Go do what you do. We're gonna still be here and kind of threading the needle, I guess. And to tell you the truth, that's the way I look at it.
There's only one more thing to say about this, and it is Get in, loser. We're cutting payroll.
Nate, you're not sufficiently optimistic about the prospects. How dare you?
Oh, if anybody listens to the rest of this podcast, they are going to learn that I am sufficiently optimistic about so many of these prospects. I'm having a lot of fun right now.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's fun. I want these guys to do well. It's so silly. So, but anyway, just all I ask: pay attention to who's telling you the truth and who's not. That's all I ask. Without mentioning any names. So we did have a question from one of our friends at patreon.com/riverfrontcincy. Of course, these viewer mail questions always come from our friends there. You too can support the show. First one, we have a couple here about this. First one from Kyle Kapler. Quote, is hash brown prospect hugging cool now? And yes, I read your article. Is prospect hugging cool now, Nate? I'm going to give you this one.
I mean, it's 2023. We got to be respectful of people's boundaries. So maybe like prospect high-fiving, prospect fist bumping from afar. But you shouldn't just go up and hug random strangers. If you don't know these guys like that, I do not recommend hugging anybody.
But we can be happy about the prospects. Can we? I'm not sure. I think I've been told I can't be happy about the prospects because I'm mad at
You can. I think I can. I'm like a bridge.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I don't understand how this works. Next question comes from Joe Farsing. Joe's question is, why are you so pessimistic, Chad?
Let me take this one. Go to baseballreference.com and type in Cincinnati Reds and then scroll up past about we'll leave 1990 in there. Scroll up to about 80, 1980, and then just look for a while. That's why Chad's pessimistic.
Yeah, I mean, again, I love Ellie De La Cruz. I love Noel V. Marte. I love all these guys. Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and Graham Ashcraft. I mean, it's fantastic. But don't tell me to ignore the evidence before my lying eyes. Don't act like we should trust this franchise. I hope so. Yeah, we've said Nick Krall did a good job. Bringing in those hauls under constraints he was under. We haven't lied about that. We're happy about it. If he has to do that, then do it well. And I hope they all turn into something. But come on. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about these prospects, Nate, and some of the things that have happened this spring, because there have been some fun things. Christian Encarnacion Strand, or as you called him last week, Encarnacion Steer.
Yeah, that was me.
Is he gonna make the Reds opening day roster?
If you would have asked me this before spring training, I would have said no. If he was hitting, I will say his batting average, his slugging percentage, his OPS has nothing to do with it. I'm saying yes, and that's simply because Joey Votto's not doing very many baseball things, at least game-ready baseball things. Joey Votto has earned the right to say when he is ready to come back, and I want him to come back 100%. So if that's not opening day, fine. And if it's not, then I think that CES is I can see the front office kind of getting caught up in the fervor and putting him on that opening day lineup, especially if they haven't sold out.
Yeah. I think it's probably 60-40 right now that he's going to make it. Caveats being that we don't know about Joey, but it's pretty, I don't ever want to doubt Joseph Daniel Votto, but it's looking like he's certainly not going to be ready for opening day. And if he's not, well, there's a place you can put him. You can put Encarnacion Strand, and people are basically comparing him to Jonathan India a couple years ago when Jonathan India won a spot. I would just say that let me pull up the stats here. Encarnacion Strand has I had the stats up here. He's we're talking about 21 at bats, and I always say completely ignore spring training stats, but he's been great in 21 at bats. And he does have a history in the minor leagues. He's hit everywhere he's been. The guy's going to be a big leaguer. There's no question in my mind. But if he plays another 5 or 6 games, 7 games, and he's 2 for 21, is everybody here that's going nuts over him going to change their mind? Because I'm not. I know who he is, and I'm not going to let 21. I think I know who he is. I shouldn't say I know who he is, but I know what he's done over the long haul. So I think if he goes 0 for the rest of spring training, I still think he's in the mix if Joey Votto's not ready, because we know the guy can hit. And what's the downside to having him on the roster until Joey's back, and then maybe longer depending on how he performs. So
yeah, The counter argument, I guess, would be that Nick Senzel's also potentially not going to be ready for opening day. Shock, shock, shock. And Matt McClain brings more position versatility, and he's also having a mammoth spring training. He's actually shown some of the things I think you'd rather see some of these guys take. I mean, the Encarnacion Strand, trust me, no bigger fan than me, is up there just taking daddy hacks at the first pitch every time and hitting bombs. McClain's drawing a lot of walks, showing a lot of patience, doing a lot of things that you're going to have to do to succeed at the major league level. And the fact that he can play all around the diamond might make him a more natural answer to fill that hole. But we'll see. Either way, I'm excited about McClain too, man. He's having a great spring.
Okay, and again, I'm gonna be yelled at about this, but we're talking about 19 plate appearances. Yes, he's having a great spring, and he's demonstrating the plate discipline that you want to see. And
well, that's it for me. Like I don't expect him to have a 1.706 OPS in the regular season, but I do love the fact that he's got 7 walks, and that's a skill that translates.
It is. I'm not going to throw any more water on this, but I mean, half of those at bats have been against guys that aren't going to be on big league rosters. There are reasons why you ignore spring training stats, but I'm sorry, Joe. I did get sort of pessimistic there. Maybe my reputation is preceding me. What I'm trying to say, and I'm not saying it very effectively, is that I would have McClain on that opening day roster if Senzel's not ready, for example, or Encarnacion Steer, regardless of this 19 plate appearance, session in less than 2 weeks of spring training. It's stupid to make any decision on spring training on a week and a half of spring training baseball. It's just foolish. But Matt McClain's a talented guy. Okay, now he has been up and down a little bit in the minor league, but he's a talented guy, first round pick. And if who would you rather have in center field, for example, on opening day? If Nick Senzel's not, well, even if Nick Senzel is ready, some people might say Matt McClain. Matt McClain or random. I don't know. I guess TJ Friedel's the next guy, and Friedel's looked awfully good in the spring as well. But we know what Friedel is too.
Can I offer you a Will Benson?
Well, that's the guy I've been after. That's the guy I like. But any of those guys, I would give me Benson or McClain, Frank, just because I want to see what they can do. I've got a pretty good idea what TJ Friedel can do, and maybe I'm wrong because he's looked great in 9 games in spring training.
And about 100 plate appearances at the end of last year too. So he's the one that I don't expect it, but there's if you're looking for a reason to hope, you can find it. It's not that crazy. He had a little bit of success after some changes last year, and it's carried over so far. I know I don't expect it. I don't think he's going to be an everyday big leaguer, but there may be something that he's tapped into that we haven't seen yet. And he seems like such a fun, likable dude too. If he is your 4th outfielder, your utility guy, I think that makes a pretty fun roster.
No, I'm okay with that. And I think actually, even as a starter, you can see, you don't have to squint too hard and see a scenario where Friedel becomes a league average hitter, and he's a pretty good defender. And so, for the next 2 or 3 years, he could be a center fielder, in the big leagues. Maybe not for a team that's a consistent playoff competitor, but for the Red Sox, he's not going to embarrass the team. I can absolutely see that. And I don't mean to just say that that's not possible, but I kind of have a little bit of an idea what Friedel is. I think I want to see these. I want to see the Matt McClain. I want to see what he can do. I want to see Will Benson. I want to see what they can do. Give them the first opportunity when these opportunities rise. Same with Encarnacion Strand. If Otto's not ready, put him at first base or DH. Just let's see what he can do. If he doesn't do well, send him down to the minor leagues and let him continue. I don't know. This is a year where I have so few expectations that all I want is some fun. And regardless of what the people say about me, these kids are fun. They're fun to watch, and because we can still hope about them, and hope's been in short supply around here. So
I would definitely rather hop on here every Thursday evening and talk to you about, Spencer Steer, CES, Matt McClain, and these guys, as opposed to Matt Reynolds and Albert Almora Jr.
That's it. The Reds could lose 98 games again, but if we're talking about these interesting guys and guys that have a future, then I'll have fun talking about them all year. That's exactly the right way to frame it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be talking about Matt Reynolds and Mike Moustakas and rest in peace, and Albert Almora Jr. give me these kids, because at least there's a little bit of unknown there, and which allows us to dream, and that's really all we can ask for at this point. The Reds did make their first roster cuts of spring camp, Nate, and there was one player that was not cut, but was added to the big league camp from the minor league camp, and that was pitcher Chase Anderson. Chase Anderson now in the mix for that number 5 starters role. I imagine you have some kind of a hot take about Chase Anderson. And if you do, yeah, exactly. They're not. It's not good when he's in the mix to be a starter, but that's okay. It is what it is. The Reds reassigned 4 pitchers to the minor league camp, and then see what 1, 2, 3 position players, and some interesting names in there, and some names that have futures in Cincinnati. The pitchers that have futures in Cincinnati specifically are Andrew Abbott, a lefty starter, and then Connor Phillips, a right-hander. Those 2 guys are bursting with talent. They will be big leaguers, barring injury. So they were cut, quote unquote, but really they were going to start the year in the minor leagues anyway. Get them down there, get them consistent work. The only player that I was I don't know. Well, I guess there's two of the position players that are at least worth mentioning. Alex McGarry, who we've talked about briefly on the show once or twice, and then Alan Serta, who is he has light tower power and hit one bomb for the Reds in spring training here. That was just I still don't think it's come down. So, but really no surprises any of those guys, but some guys that do have a future.
Yeah, I think that it wasn't so much of a demotion. You know, people think of, they got cut as a negative. No, there's just so many people they need to take a look at during spring training, and there's only so many innings and so many at-bats. So they send these guys down, get them regular work. You know, they'll be going out there as often as they need to. Alan Serta can get all the plate appearances that he wants to in minor league camp. He's only got, like 6 or 10 or something in big league camp. So send him down, let him get some work. There are a couple guys that I'm pretty excited about. Andrew Abbott looked good in his brief stint from University of Virginia. Some guy named Gary Busey. Busey apparently did not impress. So
Alan Mucinet. Yeah, I don't know. Briefly, the same thing about those pitchers that you said about the hitters. I want to say there's a good argument to make now that Green and Lodolo and Ashcraft are in the big leagues. That Andrew Abbott and Connor Phillips are the 2 best pitching prospects in the entire Reds organization, and they each had pitched 2 innings so far this spring. So yeah, get them out of here. They're going to be back, and this will not be their last big league camp, and hopefully be the first of many. And they could both be on the big league roster at some point this year. But let's get them some work, continue their development. That's in terms of news this week. The only other thing that we really had, Nate, was Justin Dunn, who we've lamented many times here, but it looks like he's going to miss quote unquote months with his shoulder injury. He got to check that again. He doesn't have to have surgery still. It's like the 12th consecutive year he's had a shoulder injury that didn't require surgery. I don't know what to make of it. I feel bad for the kid. He has talent, but he just has not been able to stay on the field. And I don't know what else to say about it.
No, that sucks. Get well soon, man. Like, nobody is going to be feeling worse about this than he does. So sending Gino Suarez good vibes your way.
Good vibes only to Justin Dunn. Anyone else interesting in spring training so far to you, Nate, that you wanted to mention that we hadn't mentioned? The only thing I will mention is I'm really interested in the fact that the Reds are stealing a ton of bases. There's still more bases than pretty much anybody in baseball. And I love it. Again, I've been anti-stealing base for a while because the analytics don't say it's not a good thing to do, but I'm all in. They're fun. Stolen bases are fun. Bring them on.
So much fun. I'm loving watching those guys fly around the bases. Some of the names that we expect are looking pretty good. Jake Fraley's had some nice at bats. All this comes with a small sample size caveat. A guy named Henry Ramos. I think he went to play in the World Baseball Classic, but he looked really good early. But for me, I'm getting more and more excited. I was a bit lukewarm on Spencer Steer. Like, I like the guy. I think he's going to be a good, serviceable big leaguer. But the more I've watched him and his approach, I think he really just has potential to be more than the credit I have been giving him. And your boy Will Benson. Will Benson's looking good, man.
Yeah, no, Will Benson, he's my guy this year. Spencer Steer, we haven't talked about him much here lately, but a few episodes ago we talked about how the Zips projections and all the projection systems really had him looking good this year, and I didn't know what to make of him. because he had a great debut last year, but I wasn't quite sure exactly what to make of the guy. He's looked good so far. Again, small sample size, whatever. I hope that these guys keep hitting extremely well this spring, because I don't want to see all the prospect huggers have to go quiet. Their internet, might go out or something, and they won't be able to tweet anymore. I would hate to see the internet go out in certain homes around the tri-state area. But because I want them to keep playing well. Stevenson's one. Ellie De La Cruz, his numbers, if you just look at it, and he don't look at numbers. It's spring training. Do not look at numbers. But when you watch Ellie De La Cruz,
you see it.
That you can just tell. I'm not a scout, but you can tell that guy's a big leaguer waiting to happen. I mean, just the swagger and the speed and the fearlessness. And there's one, and if you go to the Riverfront Cincy Twitter account, we retweeted it, but there was a ball that was hit to short right field, and Ellie De La Cruz is barely around first base, and he turned it into a double. I mean, it was just, I don't know. That guy, it's Billy Hamilton levels of athleticism and fun with actual talent attached to it. So that's why that guy is at the top of everyone's list. And I cannot wait to see that guy in the big leagues. A couple other guys we want to talk about. Nick Lodolo, Jose Barrero. Tell me what you think about either or both of those.
Nick Lodolo, real quick, we do need to mention only 5 innings, but 2 hits, 2 walks, and the guy looks like a stud. He's been unhittable. He's overmatching dudes, and he's been facing some real big leaguers too. So that's been cool. Jose Barrero, I haven't gotten to watch every game, but I have watched 5 or 6 of his plate appearances. He looks more comfortable than I saw him last. I'm not saying he looks particularly good, but he looks better. So I'm going to be cautiously optimistic because I've just changed my expectations. If Jose Barrero has a 100 or better OPS plus, weighted runs created plus, I'm good. His glove is good enough to man shortstop and have some fun. So I don't know. I'm cautiously, very, very cautiously optimistic about Jose Barrero.
Okay, we're completely reasonable. First, about Lodolo, his numbers are only that good because he has not faced Will Benson. About Barrero, my thought was just, has he done enough to keep he's sort of the default starting shortstop. And my position all along has sort of been, he would have to really flop, and somebody else, McLean or De La Cruz or Marte even, would have to really do something crazy to take the position. And we're talking about the opening day position, not July 1 or August 1. Barrero, we're talking about 19 plate appearances, 278 average, 316 on base, 444 slugging. Do not make any judgments based on spring stats. But I'm with you. Looks, as much as I can tell, looks a little more comfortable. And so asking for those, stats that you mentioned a moment ago is probably a tall order. Sort of like we were talking about Friedel in center field. If you just be an average hitter, okay, you can play, because his glove and his arm can play Barrero. So I think he probably is your starting shortstop on opening day. But whether he hangs on to that for very long is going to depend a lot on how guys like McLean and especially De La Cruz perform in AAA. All right, Nate. How about we talk about some awards? You want to give out some awards, some preseason awards?
We have to. There has to be evidence of how little we know about the Reds.
Buddy, there are 468 episodes before this one with all the evidence you need. This is, of course,
go ahead.
This is the Riverfront's 2023 preseason awards show. And I went to wear it's supposed to be in black tie only, Nate. We forgot. But we'll have to power on anyway. Are we ready to hand them out?
It was black tie only before they found out that we were on the guest list, and they had to change their expectations, just as we do as Reds fans. This is my favorite episode of the year. I love getting to look back at this and see, where we were right, where we were probably wrong, and this is when I start to really, really get excited.
Well, then let's begin with the first one, the Reds' most valuable player. Before we give our picks here, though, I need to remind everyone, this is just an exhibition. Please, no wagering. Most valuable player. Who will be the Reds' 2023 most valuable player? Nate, I hand it to you for to hand out the first award.
Well, after we spent all this time talking about how excited I am about spring training stats, I'm going to say do not be excited about this, guys, because my pick for team MVP this year is Tyler Stevenson, QB1. My guy's going to be healthy. He's going to hit. He might not be the leader. He might not get a captaincy, but he's going to have the best stat line.
Nate, his OPS is 471.
He's a bum.
The fact of the matter is he is the only answer here. You can argue for some other people. I wanted to argue in favor of Joey Votto. Couldn't bring myself around to do it, but wouldn't be surprised if he did it. Spencer Steer. I thought about it. Obviously, Will Benson's the most talented player probably in the history of the franchise. But I'm gonna say he's gonna need a little time to ramp up. Next year he'll be the team MVP. So I'm with you. I'm going with Tyler Stevenson. He frankly he's the best big league player on the roster this year. And he's the Riverfront's preseason MVP. So we actually agreed on one. Now the Cy Young, I don't know if I have a feeling we're going to disagree on this. Maybe not. But I'm anticipating who you're going to pick. My choice for the Reds, not Cy Young, the pitcher of the year, I guess. I don't want to call it Cy Young because we're going to call it what are we going to call it? The Aaron Harang Award. How about that?
I love it.
The Cy Young Award, the Aaron Harang Award. So the MVP is the Joey Votto Award. The Pitcher of the Year award is the Aaron Harang Award. I'm giving it this year to Hunter Green, opening day starter.
Ooh.
Hunter Green. We always talk about his ceiling. I think he's going to start to bump up against that, start to show us some of that skill. And I think this is going to be last year was sort of a breakout year in a lot of ways because we got to see what his numbers didn't look great, but we got to see what he could do on a regular basis. I think this is the year. He's the best pitcher on the Reds. What do you think? Who's your
perfectly fine choice? I think you're just overlooking one, Hunter Strickland, because he is going to be so valuable for other teams. No, my choice was Nick Lodolo. I think Hunter Green was my number 2. It could go either way. I just think the couple of years that Nick Lodolo has on Hunter is going to be a difference maker, and he's going to put together a more consistent 2023 season.
Completely reasonable pick. I will say this: Hunter Green may not end up winning the Aaron Harang Award for the best pitcher on the Reds in 2023, but he will win the Best Hunter Award because he is better than Hunter Strickland. All right, next award, which should be exciting for a team like this, but it's the Chris Sabo Memorial Rookie of the Year Award, or should we name it the Scott Williams? No, I'm going to go with that. Chris Sabo, the Chris Sabo Memorial Rookie of the Year Award. Although Chris Sabo is still very much alive. I'm going to give you first shot. Who's going to be the Rookie of the Year on this team? Got a lot to choose from.
I put 2 down in my notes and then immediately wanted to switch to a different one. I'm going to do that. Audible to Spencer Steer. He's going to be there all year long. And I think the guy he's going to get on base at a high clip, and he's going to be valuable to this team playing all around the diamond. Spencer Steer is my pick.
And that was going to be my pick, but I decided that I'm just going to lean hard into the shtick that I'm developing here. The Will Benson shtick, it's going to kind of be a long running gag like the Billy Hamilton gag was for so many years on this show. Comic book superhero Will Benson. Will Benson's going to be your Rookie of the Year.
It was hard for me. It was hard for me not to just ride the CES hype train. I was all about it, but you temper my expectations a little bit. Your pessimism seeped through the computer screen.
You know what would be the most fun is if it were Encarnacion Strand or if it were Ellie De La Cruz. If they played enough to be the best rookie, that could be terribly exciting. But I'm not gonna bet on it. All right, comeback player of the year. The comeback player of the year. Who are we gonna name this one after? The comeback player of the year, Jose Rio. I'm gonna name it after Jose Rio because he came back to the Reds after many years and had one last hurrah. The comeback player for the Reds this year is going to be Joseph Daniel Votto. Joey Votto wins it for me. Injury plagued year last year, not up to his standards. I think he's going to come back and be an above average contributor and win this award. What do you think, Nate?
I think that he is the obvious choice. I also think that if you are the criteria for this award are had a much improved year or had a great year after injury, then the entire roster might be eligible. But there is nobody I want to see succeed this year more than Joey Votto. and I've maybe never wanted anything more in my baseball fanhood. Like for Joey Votto to have a monster 2023 would be amongst, if not my favorite thing to ever happen in Reds fandom.
I agree. That would be fantastic. So we're going with Joey Votto. Next, the Nick Halls Prospect of the Year. Now, the Prospect of the Year, here's the way I'm going to define it. Someone that doesn't play in the big leagues at all.
Okay.
Or if he does play in the big leagues, he doesn't play enough that he couldn't still qualify as a rookie next year. So he doesn't get to play a whole lot in the big leagues. So who do you have here?
I am going with I actually had the question about that criteria, because if they could have played in the big leagues for a substantial amount of time, I was going to go with CES, but I'm going to go with the next guy I'm most hyped about, Noelvi Marte. I think that much like CES, he's going to grow out of shortstop, be a bigger boy, and just mash baseballs. The guy hits. So that's my guy.
Completely reasonable. You know, you want to give it to Ellie De La Cruz, but I'm also hoping that Ellie De La Cruz gets to play enough in the big leagues that, you know, so do I want him to be the prospect of the year? Not really, because I want him to be in the big leagues. I want him to be the rookie of the year. So I'm going to give it to Andrew Abbott, the lefty starter from the University of Virginia. The guys, again, I watched him in college a lot because I do watch college baseball, and he was so good, and so I'm so excited about him. That's who my Nick Halls Prospect of the Year is going to be. Nate, the evil Mr. Red Mascot of the Year. Who's that going to be? The Mascot of the Year this year. There are 3 to choose from. Who are you taking?
There's only one choice.
Don't you say it.
Gapper.
Don't you do it. Gapper.
Okay, I'll
Nate's gone. He's left us. He's officially off the show forever. No, we're going to give it to Gapper. I think he's going to have a strong year. And he could have been the comeback mascot of the year because he's not been good for the last few years. But, yeah, we're going to go with Gapper. Who's going to be the Reds manager? This is not on our list. Who's going to be the Reds manager of the year? I'm going with David Bell.
I think it's a pretty safe bet. I don't know. We'll see.
Might not
be. They start out 3-22. He might not be.
Yeah, it could be Jim Riggleman. Jim Riggleman. That would be the Bob Boone honorary manager of the year. All right, so those are your preseason awards. We agreed on most of those, Nate, which is kind of scary. Can we do some viewer mail?
Please.
Let's do some viewer mail and then get out of here because I'm missing a ball game. Nate, we have a new member of the crew this month, and you know, every month from our Patreon family, patreon.com/RiverfrontCincy, every month we do a Zoom hangout. We just get together. You know, during the season, we'll watch a Reds game together, basically via Zoom. In the off season, we watch the Bengals, or we've just talked. And we did it this week, and we had the first instance ever of a new member of the family joining us on a Zoom hangout before he even was assigned his beer league softball position, and that's Tyler Brickey. Tyler, it's good to meet you. Good to have you come on and really enjoyed talking to you. Come on the Zoom hangout. So Nate, you know, it's our tradition here. Every new member of the Patreon family is assigned a position on the beer league softball team. Tyler Brickey, what do you think?
I'm thinking I'm getting pitcher vibes. I got Tyler Malley still stuck in my head, so I see him being a pitcher that also just mashes dingers. The guy's putting up 35 home runs plus in the beer league softball circuit, while also pitching gems, just lofting them in there. Use the floater, Rowan Gardner.
Well, I went with the Tyler thing, but I had catcher. You know, Tyler Stevenson sort of is where I went. But I think I'm going to go with you. He's a pitcher, but he can absolutely mash.
Yeah. Nobody
Tyler,
wants to be a softball catcher.
Exactly. That's true. Tyler Brickey, thank you so much. Welcome to the family. Really appreciate you joining us. First question this week comes from Joey Gaditza. Who is going to be the first player from the Hall to legitimately contribute at the big league level? And so I guess when we talk about the Hall, we'll talk about players that were acquired via trade during the last calendar year. Who's going to be the first player from the Hall to legitimately contribute at the big league level? I think it's probably got to be Spencer Steer, right? I mean, that's who I think. I mean, he's got the best shot at being on the starting lineup on opening day, so he's probably the odds-on favorite. Who else?
Does it go back to the last season, off-season trades of Gino and Jesse Winker?
Yes, yeah. Anything that happened last calendar year, I think we can.
I can make an argument to Jake Fraley. Was he part of that?
Yeah,
I think he was part
but
of
do you
that.
consider him? He was, but you consider when I think of the Hall, I think of the prospects.
Yeah, I think it's the prospects. You're right.
But that's how I'm reading it.
Spencer Steers is definitely the answer.
Okay, that's what we're going to do with Spencer Steer. Good question. Joey, next question comes from Jerry Saduff. Jerry says, I dare say I feel somewhat optimistic about what? Get out of here, Jerry. Next question from Hooper. No, we'll answer your question, Jerry. I don't expect a winning season out of this team by any means, but what benchmarks can this team reasonably meet to maintain our hopes throughout the season? Now, I'll let you answer, Nate, but here's what I'll say. There are no statistical benchmarks. There's no one-loss benchmark because I don't have any expectations and frankly don't care. I mean, I would love if they can compete for a wild card. That'd be great. I would love that, but I don't expect that to happen. So for me, I don't know that the only benchmark I can say is it going to be fun? Is it going to be interesting? Are there going to be enough players in the starting lineup to keep me interested? Enough of the Encarnacion Steers, enough of the Ellie De La Cruzes, the Jose Barreros, even Matt McClain's, any of these guys, Joey Votto, and fewer of the we already talked about. So I won't go too much further into them. Fewer of the Matt Reynolds types. If you just give me some people that I can hope about, that's my benchmark. 5 or 6 players in the starting lineup every day that I have some hope about for the next 3 or 4 years.
That's it. For me, just one word: progress. I want to see these young guys get a little bit better, get a little bit closer. If they're doing that, then the Reds are going to win some games. They're going to be better than they were last year. They're going to be way more fun than they were last year. And there's going to be some real energy, real buzz going into the 2024 season. So I just want to see progress.
I'm with you. Virginia's on a 7-0 run. They're up 16-13 over North Carolina in the ACC tournament. All right, next question comes from Hooper Powell. Hooper, I find the music theme of this week's podcast. Now, I got to explain that because every week when I make a call at Patreon for our viewer mail questions, I say something goofy. This week I said, the kids are all right, which obviously you understand the music reference there if you don't go Google it. But because I knew we were going to be talking a lot about the kids this week. So, but I find the theme of this podcast very timely, and the chance some of these young guys possibly making a team or on the team by June is music to my ears. The only question I have is, whenever Creed comes on the radio, why do I know the words? Nate, when we're done here, will you remind me? I have to go and actually ban Hooper from Patreon. That's absurd. Seth Shaner.
Nothing to add.
Yeah, no, get out of here, Hooper. That's Hooper. I'm physically angry right now.
I feel the same way about Nickelback, Hooper. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Gosh. Seth Shaner, small sample size, or is this something? That's what she said. It feels like last spring the starters would play okay and be in games or leave with the lead only to lose meaningless games when the dredges of the farm system made their appearances. Is the fact the past week has seen leads held onto or even deficits erased indicative of a deeper organization? Well, I would say that. I don't want to step on your answer here, Nate, but my answer is yes, in some ways it's indicative of a deeper organization, but do not draw any conclusions from spring stats, spring performances, period. The Reds bullpen today gave up, I think, 45 runs to blow the game against Chicago. Maybe it's 44. Who cares? But I do think, given the kids that are closer, it is a little bit of a deeper organization. Fewer Matt Reynoldses, to go back to Nate's analogy. So that's my answer, Nate. Anything else you want to say on that one?
I think it's more indicative of a 2022 bullpen that was ravaged by injuries and underperformed. Some of the underlying metrics. Those guys were not as bad as they seemed. At least a lot of them. Hunter Strickland was as bad. Jeffrey Hoffman was as bad. But I think the bullpen might actually be a strength this year. I think the Buck Farmers and the Injabos are a little bit better than we made fun of them for because they have funny names. And I think having Lucas Sims back and Alexis Diaz is going to make this a much improved bullpen, especially compared to last year's dumpster fire.
Yes, yeah, I think that's true. Next question comes from Brandon Kamek. Brandon's question is this: over under on MVPs for Christian Encarnacion Strand. 3.5. Over under 3.5. Nate only, please. I don't need Chad's realism in my life.
Oh, sorry. I'm back. Over under 3.5. I'm going to go over, but with a qualifier. Only 2 of those are at the major league level. One of those is in the Reds Got Talent competition next year when he busts out a winning performance, and then he's going to join the beer league softball team eventually and win MVP for them.
You reminded me of something that I wanted to mention because I'm not going to answer Brandon's question because it was not directed at me, so I'm going to completely ignore it. But the Reds had a 3-point contest at spring training this year. I thought it was fantastic. 3-point contest won by Will Myers. But I still say, and I mean this in all seriousness, and Nate will tell you it's true, there's not a single player on the Reds roster that could defeat me in a 3-point contest. Nate, true or false?
Undeniable.
You're the only one here that's
nobody has worse form either.
Well, you got to get it up there. You got to get it up. You got to get it up high. Can't get it blocked. Golly, man, I'm trying to brag about my limited basketball ability, limited only to be able to make a 3 occasionally while standing in one spot because it's too slow to do anything else. And you still hack on me on that. Tyler Brickey. Tyler's the new guy, Nate. And when you have a new guy, this new guy's from Columbus. First of all, that's a strike against you because that's where Hooper Powell's from. He's banned from the show now. Tyler Brickey's from Columbus. And he's going to come on here and he's going to make some comments about my my ridiculous accent. And I don't approve. Here's Tyler's question. How does Chad pronounce the words wash and toilet? I just literally pronounced those. So you know how, although I'm from the hills of Appalachia, so I've never washed and never used a toilet. My grandma, who moved out of Appalachia 50 plus years ago, says Tyler still pronounces wash as wash and toilet as turlet. Now, I've never pronounced them that way. I venture to say, Nate, we've both heard people pronounce those words that way. Maybe you have. I know I have.
Quite a few washers out there. Turlet is a new one for me, but maybe we always say commode.
Well, I just know that the first president of the United States was George Washington. That's what I was always told. George Washington. James Urban, who will win the World Baseball Classic?
Team Puerto Rico, baby.
Oh, gosh, I forgot. Nate's an honorary Puerto Rican now. It's got to be the United States of America.
They're a contender.
Bars. Oh, come on. You crazy? Get out of here. Andrew Morin, final question. What do you get the Cincinnati sports couple that already has everything for their wedding? Asking for a Nate. I'm going to go rewatch the meeting on the mound scene of Bull Durham for suggestions. Nate, what do you get somebody that's getting married?
You get some magical pill that you can take that makes your wife a bigger Reds fan so that she tolerates your hobbies a little more.
I didn't know where you were going with that magical pill that I was like, whoa, it's not late night Reds after dark here, is it? Oh my. Nate, of course, is getting married this coming week in Puerto Rico. And hopefully we will have a show from there, at least part of a show from there.
Yeah, I'm going to try to join from Puerto Rico and wish me luck. She still has time to back out, but I think we're looking good. Things are trending in the right direction.
I think we're all right. Nate, what else is going on around the Riverfront Network other than our new live show?
Oh man, Joe and I got together on the Bengals show this week talking about the Bengals single season all-time defensive team, and we had definitely too much fun. Let's just say that you'll find out within the first 15 minutes that you should not be listening with kids in the car. We were talking about ways that Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre have some similarities, and it went off the rails immediately, stayed off the rails, tried to get back on, failed twice, and then we just canceled it. We just called it quits, but had a blast doing it.
Outstanding. Wow. 3 shows now on the Riverfront Network. We're going to take over the world. It's amazing. 2015. All right. So thanks everyone for listening to and supporting Riverfront. Remember to subscribe to the show either on YouTube or in your favorite podcast app. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're at Riverfront Cincy and all those platforms. And then once again, a huge thank you to our supporters at patreon.com/Riverfront Cincy, without whom the show would literally not be possible. Welcome to Late Night Reds Talk. Join us on Sunday night, 9 p.m. Nate, any final thoughts?
Nope. Go Reds, man. Enjoy it. It's a lot of fun right now, and enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy it however you want to enjoy it. Shout out to Adam Dunn. Shouts to Lisa Alberto, Wayne Krenchicki, Eli Cash, and Eddie Taubenzy. For Nate Dotson, this is Chad Dotson saying, so long, everyone.